Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another video for Eve Echoes. Now, firstly, before we jump into today's video, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's given feedback on me doing these more live intros. I really like doing this. It gives me a little bit more of a personal feel to each video. I do apologise that the wall behind me is so grubby, and I do apologise that the lighting is so terrible. I literally record this using my phone in my bedroom, and this is a 150-year-old colonial-era house here in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. It's in need of a little bit of love, and we're working on that gradually. So if you guys are continuing enjoying this, I'll keep doing the camera, and we're going to make this look even cooler over time. So thanks for bearing with me, and thanks for giving me that really cool feedback. So today's video, again on the theme of feedback, today's video is going to be talking about the responses I had to yesterday's events video on the hunt. Ultimately, I found a lot of people in the responses were talking about like burnout, about this concept of, you know, missing out, not having enough SP, falling behind everyone else and all that kind of thing. So I wanted to talk to you guys on a one-to-one level about the community aspect of this game, about how not to get burnt out and why you shouldn't be worrying so much about getting every single teeny tiny skill point out of the game. I want to talk to you guys about how this game is all about the community, and I want to talk to you all about us moving together to be stronger and positive moving forward. This game isn't perfect. There are issues with the game. I will quite gladly admit that, but I want to sit here and talk to you about that in a positive and constructive, forward-thinking way. And that means that sometimes, yes, I am going to sit there and say, you know what, skill points aren't that necessary, and that's something we're going to talk about in today's video. We as a community need to weigh up our desire to own everything against the game's need to actually make money and be profitable. Because as soon as this game stops being profitable, we lose the game. That's how business works. And I don't like that, you don't like that, no one likes that, but it's part and parcel of how gaming is now an industry. We have to live with that, so why not be positive and move forward together in a constructive way with that knowledge? So that's what today's video is going to be about. It's going to be me ranting about why we shouldn't be so worried about squeezing out every drop of skill points and everything should be min-maxed and all that kind of thing. Why you should just have fun in Eve Echoes. And we're going to talk about toxicity as well, because that's something I've seen creeping a lot into things like Reddit and my own comment section. So I want to stop that in its tracks now. And we're going to do that today in this video. But don't worry, there is also going to be a really cool giveaway, so stay tuned for that. I think you guys will really enjoy this one. Thank you to Joseph and to Netties for allowing me the capability to actually supply these giveaways. That's a really cool thing, and I do enjoy being able to help the community in a small way in regards to those. Now, if you do enjoy this video, let me know by hitting like on it. Subscribe to the channel for all things Eve Echoes, ding that notification bell so that you never miss an upload, and of course, let me know in the comment section down below what ships and topics you'd like me to cover in future content. If you do want to be absolutely amazing, of course, you can help support this channel by coming across to our Patreon page and donating there, or checking out our Redbubble merchandise store. And yes, I have been shamelessly wearing different ones of the t-shirts every single time I've done one of these videos. You've seen my cool Silent Rose notebook, you've seen the Cat Skull Academy t-shirt, this is the Air Benzie Nullsec Tours Getting You Up Close and Personal t-shirt, and this is probably my personal favourite, not only because it's got a thrasher on it, but because it plays on the Air Benzie and the Up Close and Personal joke. Anyway, folks, enough of the plugging. Thank you for putting up with me. Let's talk about how to be positive as a community and how not to get burnt out in Eve Echoes. Yesterday I released a video on the Eve Echoes Easter event, The Hunt, and why I thought this was actually a pretty cool event, despite the fact that a lot of people on Reddit were absolutely losing their collective minds over it. Now, I sat there and I went through the comment section on that video, and I've seen a lot of people's complaints and a lot of people's issues, and I kind of want to address those because there was a running theme going on. Now, I do recommend that you do go back and watch that video if you haven't already, just to make sure that I'm not misrepresenting something, that I'm not twisting the truth, and just to get a basic understanding of what inspired this conversation. But the long and short of it, ultimately in the responses was, well, I sat there and said that the Hunter's Pass is really cool, because if you're playing the game daily, you're going to be just completing some of these missions naturally anyway. Ultimately, you know, if you're doing encounters, you're going to get ISK from bounties, and you're going to be completing the encounters there, which will help you level up part of this Hunter's Pass, and every time you level it up, you're getting free skill points that you didn't have before. And that's awesome. It's something that you didn't have before that you are now getting without having to pay for it. And if you're an amazing Omega clone, whether that's combo or basic Omega, whether that's just a corporation Omega clone, or, you know, if you've been lucky enough to win one of my giveaways, and more on that later, it's actually surprisingly easy to get really high up this tracker, thanks to the daily login rewards giving you a whole load of the damaged capsules in addition, so you're just getting a ton of free skill points there. That was my argument. Now, a lot of people picked up on that I said, well, it's only $5 to get the Hunter's Pass, and a lot of people said, well, you know, you're forgetting that not everyone lives in Western Europe or America, and I'm sitting there going, hello, I live in Zimbabwe, Africa, one of the poorest countries in the world. If you don't know about Zimbabwe, do a Google search, look it up on Wikipedia and see what this country is. Ultimately, I live in a place where not only is $5 extremely rare to get hold of, most people don't even have a bank account that allows them to make online purchases. If they wanted to pay $5 into Eve Echoes, they probably don't have the capability of doing it because they can't buy a Google Play Store card because no shop here sells those, and they don't have a bank account that actually allows them to do online shopping anyway, so $5 is literally unreachable to most gamers in Zimbabwe. What I was saying was, most people who are going to want to have full access to the complete Hunter's Pass are people who are pretty dedicated to this game anyway, probably already have Cognitive Neuroscience 3, and are probably running Combo Omega since the day that they started the game. To those players, $5 really isn't much, and there is definitely an argument to be made for games developers supporting people who cannot pay, but not pandering people to those people who just won't pay. I think there's a key difference there. If you can't pay, the game shouldn't punish you for that, but if you just won't pay, you shouldn't expect the game to cater for you. It's a fine line, but it's a point I've argued at length elsewhere on the internet. Now, the argument here ultimately then came down to, well, I feel like the 182,000 skill points for free is cool, but I still feel like I'm missing out on the full 684,000 skill points. And I get that, that's 502,000 skill points, it's more than 500,000. It's a lot of additional SP. Especially since, you know, the daily login reward, sorry, the weekly maintenance reward is 5,000 SP, so it's a lot of free skill points available here. And people in the comments section were using phrases like, I'm already struggling to try and keep up. I'm afraid of falling behind. The game has become pay to win. And this made me stop and realise that actually, I think the problem here isn't that, you know, they're charging money for something. I think it's that they're charging money for something that people feel is necessary to the game. And that's just not the case. Skill points are a means to an end. They are only a means to an end. They are not the be-all and end-all of the game. If you are not active in the game, but you leave your account running and you log in daily, for example, you still earn skill points. If you're an alpha clone, you are going to earn skill points. Yes, okay, there's 684,000 skill points available in this event, if you pay for it. But if you just wait a few days, you're going to earn that 684,000 SP anyway. Does it matter that someone else has more SP than you? Well, if it does, you need to ask yourself why. Because unless you started on day one, unless you bought Combo Omega in the first few minutes of the game going live, and unless you bought Cognitive Neuroscience 3 in the first few minutes of the game going live, unless you went onto the test server and did all the stuff there that they gave free skill points during the sovereignty test, if you didn't do all of those things, you're already behind people. You are never going to fully catch up, and that's by design. That's the same in EVE Online. That's just how this game works. And is there really a problem with that? And if you say yes, you need to think about why. Because ultimately in EVE Echoes, if you're going into a straight-up competitive player versus player environment, player skill, ship choice, and ship fit are far more important than the individual skills. If I'm sitting in a Dramiel and I'm going up against another Dramiel, then the player skill and our fit comes into play a lot more than the individual skills that we're actually using as pilots. If he's got, you know, Small Cannon Operation 5 Expert, and I've only got Small Cannon Operation Expert 4, there's really not going to be that much difference, and ultimately skill and fit are going to play a much bigger role in that. It's not even just in a one-on-one ship engagement like that. Like, there are plenty of times I've gone around on one of my alt characters who is purely an alpha, who is trained nothing other than basic skills. I'm trying to get every single basic skill in the game trained on him. I've gone out there in, like, an Executioner 2, well, a Condor 2, and I've got kill marks on him. I've got kill marks on him on guys who are clearly flying tech level 7 and higher ships, who are clearly Omega clones, who clearly have access to better skills than I do. And it's the ship and the ability as a pilot to pilot that ship that is much more important than the actual skills you have available to it. Look, basically, we need to check out things like skill to benefit ratio. I think this is a key point here, and I think weapon technology showcases this really nicely, so let's move into cannons. If we look at small cannon operation 5 here, the basic small cannon operation, you'll see that the total required here is basically somewhere in the region of about, call it 300,000 skill points. It's not, it's actually about, it's much less than that, it's about 250,000 skill points. That's fewer than, just as a note here, than you'd actually earn here through the hunt, which is pretty cool. But 210,000 plus the others there, you're looking at about 250,000 skill points. For that investment, you're getting small cannon damage plus 20%, you're getting small cannon damage tracking plus 10%. What about if we go all the way up to expert? Expert requires an awful lot more skill points. Heck, you're looking at nearly 2 million skill points there. In fact, I think that is over 2 million skill points, compared to 250,000. You've got 250,000 and 2 million. This is 8 times more skill points, but look at the bonuses. If we look at the full tech level, level 5, 10% small cannon damage, 5% small cannon tracking speed, and 2 seconds additional gyro stabilizer time. So that's 10% and 5% compared to 20% and 10%. You're paying 8 times the skill point for a considerably smaller boost. And most notably as well, show me a ship that gets bonuses from expert small cannon operation. There are ones that have small cannon operation and advanced small cannon operation, but once you've met that baseline, there is not much advantage to going beyond that. Like, literally. Once if I've got a ship, if I'm trained up to advanced small cannon operation 5, and my opponent is trained up to advanced small cannon operation 5, then every single point that I have in expert small cannon operation really doesn't do much. If I'm flying a Thrasher fleet issue, and he's flying a Thrasher fleet issue, I will have marginally more DPS and better application than him, like less than 1% for training an additional 2,000 skill points. It's insane. If you think skill points are a necessity to this game, you're sadly mistaken. They are useless beyond a certain point. And ultimately, what I'm saying here as well comes into play quite nicely. For example, you can see here, I've got Expert Frigate Command all the way up to 5. I've got Frigate Command 555. All the way up through there. I then have, like, some fairly heavy afterburner and micro warp drive skills. My shield skills are pretty solid. I've got some good frigate defense skills. My frigate engineering is maxed out. But then I sit there and go, right, okay, so cannons are pretty high as well. So if I'm flying a Dramiel, I'm pretty much maxed out. Now, as long as I'm in a Dramiel, who the hell cares? The additional skill points that I have in things like railguns, lasers, missiles, drones, things that I have, like, for example, in armor operation, or like destroyer upgrades, things like cruiser, expert, destroyer command, these kind of things, those are nice to have, but they don't benefit me flying the Dramiel. Once I have reached maximum frigate skills and maximum cannon skills, if I'm in a Dramiel, any skill points beyond that do not matter, and as you can clearly see, I've got a lot of skill points in things that just genuinely don't affect my Dramiel. None of these drone skills, or missile skills, or railgun skills, or laser skills affect my Dramiel. Once I have maxed out everything I needed for the Dram, beyond that, skill points are just a nice thing to have that gives me some versatility. The idea here in my training is that I can fly every faction frigate to a fairly extensive level. The Dramiel is always going to be my best because it's the one that I'm pretty much maxed on. I'm literally missing small cannon operation and upgrade expert 5, and I'm missing frigate defense upgrade at full maximum. Other than that, there is nothing that really affects that ship anymore. So if I'm in the Dramiel, none of those other skills matter. So why do you care if you're missing out on skill points beyond what you already have, what you require to fly your ship? It boggles my mind. And ultimately, it's this concept that EVE isn't a race. It's an experience. This is a sandbox game that is designed for you to have fun in. It's designed for you to work together as a team and achieve some really cool things. And skill points, they help you with that, sure, but they only make you more efficient. I have no manufacturing skills. I have no mining skills. I have no even skills here in things like the planetary production. I actually don't even generate PI. I don't have mining arrays set up on planets. But I can still go out there in my ship, in my venture, in my procurer. I have a procurer docked at one of our stations, and I can go out there and help our alliance mine. Not having mining skills doesn't stop me mining. The fact that the guy next to me is a dedicated miner and has full expert mining and full expert strip mining, and is sitting there in a full maxed out procurer with tier 3 rigs, doesn't stop me from mining. It just means I'm not as efficient as him. And that still carries across to combat. With combat, skills kind of, they perform a baseline function. Once you've got enough skills to fit the things that you want, so enough engineering skills, enough cannon skills, that kind of thing, to fit the equipment and gear that you want, once you've met the hull's basic skills, so like, advanced destroyer command or, small cannon upgrade, that kind of thing, whatever it is, once you've reached that, once you've got everything there you need and you're able to survive, additional SP isn't doing anything. Like, if I'm sitting there in a prophecy, and I'm capable of clearing tier 9 storyline missions, and I sit there and I get a few more skill points and I put them in the right places, and suddenly I'm capable of doing tech 10 storyline missions. If my idea of having fun is to sit in a prophecy and do tech 10 storyline missions, once I'm capable of doing that, the extra skill points don't matter now, do they? I'm already doing the thing that I want to do. Extra skill points may just make me slightly more efficient at that, but there's going to come a point where you have trained every single skill that is relevant to the prophecy, and what then? What do those additional skill points actually mean once you're fully trained into the ship that you want to fly, and you're capable of completing the content that you want to complete? And that's kind of my point here. I'm trained into frigates at a maximum level. I'm almost fully trained into destroyers as well. I keep coming out of the bloody menu and then having to jump back in. But destroyers are the same thing. I'm sitting here at near full destroyer command. All of things like shield operation and that still go through there. Destroyer engineering's nearly fully maxed out as well. And of course, all these small weapons go through. I'm only a small weapon pilot. So once I've trained all of these, eventually I'm going to be finished with cannons. I'm going to be finished with railguns, I'm going to be finished with lasers, drones, and missiles, and then what? I can start training cruiser skills, or rig manufacturing, or mining, or things like this, but it's not relevant if I'm not actually flying those ships. And that's kind of my point here. You are never going to have more SP than someone who started on day 1 with Combo Omega, and Cognitive Neuroscience 3, like I did. Literally, I was there 5 minutes before the servers technically opened, because there was that little glitch where they opened 15 minutes early, and I bought all 3 Cognitive Neuroscience chips. I bought Combo Omega for like 6 months. Bam! There, right there and then, it was available. I did stuff on the test server, so I got the bonus SP there. Every time we've had like monthly login rewards, I've maxed all of that out. I am theoretically, I suppose, as pretty much as high in the skill points as you can get, which means if you joined any time after that, you are never going to have as many skill points as I do. Does that mean you can't beat me? Well, there are plenty of kill mails out here. If I go into the combat log and I take off the kills, there are plenty of things here that showcase that I have lost ships to people who are higher skilled, or, well, who are lower skilled than me in different ships. I've lost all of these, and plenty of, there's me relocating and stuff. So I've lost ships. Like, I've lost the crew, or you've seen me lose the succubus and seen me lose the worm. I probably had more skill points than the people I was flying those against. So are skill points that important? Are they really? Relax. This is a game. It's not designed to take over your entire life. There is a reason that skill points are earned just over time. They just learn. They just learn. You don't have to do anything. You can just start training and then leave it. Go away for a month, come back, and the skill will have progressed. So you don't need to log in daily. You don't need to wear yourself out trying to maximize your skill points, because they don't actually do all that much. Now, that kind of brings me nicely along to the next point as well, that we're talking about what skill points do and keeping your ships alive and all this kind of thing, and I've noticed toxicity is very much on the rise here in EVE Echoes, and so I wanted to touch on this briefly as well, and forgive me getting a little bit preachy. First of all, I think it's important to understand that war and PvP is an absolute necessity to EVE Echoes, and I do mean necessity. If there was no war, if there were no PvP, then ultimately there are going to be very few ships destroyed and no stations are going to be destroyed. Destroying ships, destroying stations creates demand. That demand creates a reason to play. If nothing is destroyed, then there's no demand, which means there's no manufacturing. No manufacturing means there's no mining. And if there's no mining, and no one's building ships, then what actually is the purpose of earning ISK in the first place? Like, congratulations, you're sitting on 10 billion ISK. What are you going to do with it? Your ship's already maxed out, it's fully fitted. What do you want to do? You're going to buy another ship? Buy another ship that you're just not going to fly because you're happy? You're sitting there in a fully Dead Space geared out Phantasm with maximum level rigs. You're now sitting on another 10 billion. What are you going to do with that? Buy a Gila? Buy an Ashimu and just, you know, never fly it? Let it sit in your dock? What is the purpose of ISK if you're not buying ships? And if you're not losing ships, then there's no reason to buy ships either. Now, this is why insurance is a bit of a, you know, it's a bit of a controversial point, because it stops you losing a ship, but it doesn't. You still lose the ship, and you've still used a lot of ISK or Plex, ISK to get the Plex or real-world money to get the Plex, either way, to actually insure that ship. So you're still losing something. It still needs to be replaced, and when the insurance system replaces your ship, yeah, okay, it replaces it at whatever station you dock at, out in nullsec, but it does create buy orders. So there is still a manufacturer somewhere fulfilling those buy orders, and that ship needed to be built out of rocks that someone else mined and sold to that manufacturer, etc, etc, etc. War and PvP are a key linchpin aspect to EVE, and I get that not everyone wants to fly PvP and not everyone wants to, you know, go into combat against other players, and that's fine. That's why high-sec exists, it's why encounters exist rather than anomalies. And it's why that the developers have said that when they add descan to the game, if you're in low-sec doing an encounter and someone scans you and jumps to your position, you will get a warning that you are being scanned, so you have the option of fleeing and waiting for that person to get bored and go away before coming back and continuing your anomaly in your encounter in peace. You have those safety nets. Same with a miner. The idea of mining is that you need to be aware of your surroundings. If you go to low-sec or null-sec, you need to be aware that you are in a dangerous situation, and there is a possibility of you losing the ship. But again, losing the ship gives you a reason to actually have ISK. Once you've got a fully maxed out procurer, what's the point in mining? What is the point in mining if you are just going to sit in that procurer and never, ever, ever, ever lose it ever again? Like, where are you going from there? What is the ISK that you're earning doing? It's just sitting in an account and basically acting like a high score that no one else gives a crap about, basically. This brings you to the point that you should never fly what you cannot afford to lose. It's an old saying in EVE, and it rings true here in EVE Echoes. If you are annoyed that you lost a ship, it's probably because you lost it in a fairly dull way, or because you didn't have a replacement. You'll notice that in my hangar I have like 2 Dramiels sitting there in my home station. I always have enough money to buy a new faction frigate and replace it if needs be, and I often have spares lying at other stations. If I'm going to fly something, I need to decide whether or not I'm happy to lose it. And if I'm not happy to lose it, well, I'm going to keep it in a safe place, really. I'm not going to fly a ship that I can't afford to lose out into nullsec and go looking for PvP. I'm only going to fly what I can personally afford to lose. Now, in regards to this as well, if we understand that war is a necessity and PvP is a necessity, then enemy players are providing a service. They're actually providing you with content. This is why it sort of irritates me a little bit that people get so upset when I poke fun at GenFed. I don't hate GenFed at all. Like, I genuinely don't. There are some higher-ups that I do have issues with and how they've behaved at times, and we'll come to that in a second, but ultimately, smack talk is fun, propaganda is part of EVE, and consider it as part of sort of roleplay. If you want to smack talk someone, consider role-playing it in local. Like, you Amarian scum, we're, you know, the Minmatar have come to, you know, bring you righteous justice, or whatever. Make it fun. Don't just start insulting people for the hell of it, because those people are your content. If you are a PvPer and you act like an absolute asshat, no one ever is going to fight you. They're going to see you coming and they're just going to dock up and be like, oh, for God's sake. And they'll probably log off and just be bored. Ultimately, If you're going to be an absolute douche, you are going to lose content. If your alliance, and I'm not calling anyone out here, I'm making a purely theoretical statement. If your alliance wants to be completely toxic, then other people are going to not have fun fighting you. They either just won't fight you, which is what we had with a particularly nasty group when we were based in Caiche, who would come in and just insult us and yell at us and get really quite toxic. It's like, you're not fun to fight. You are not fun. If you want to come here and scream and shout at us, that's not fun. If you want to mock us when we lose, and I mean like make personal attacks, etc., that's not fun. And if you want to then, act all high and mighty when you lose, that's still not fun. You are not fun to fight against, therefore we don't want to fight you, because this ultimately is a video game, and video games are designed to be fun, So smack talk can be fun, but toxicity, insults, and personal attacks are not okay. I sat on Reddit recently and it got me so angry watching a particular pilot flying in another content creator's alliance or corporation. I'm not going to name names here, it's public information, but I'm not going to name names. And that person's going around using homophobic slurs. There are plenty of transphobic slurs. Plenty of racial slurs going around in this game, and that is not okay. That is just not okay. You are going to destroy this community with that kind of behaviour. You're going to make it so that no one wants to fight you, no one wants to be part of you, and the only people who do fight you literally want to do it as a war of eradication because they're done with your bullshit. God, I'm so angry it's getting me to actually swear in a YouTube video. Now, the thing is, as much as we talk about consequences in EVE, there's that old famous trailer, the butterfly effect, where, some guy gets wrecked by some pirates, and then he joins their friends, and he works his way up to the top of the corporation, then the top of the alliance, and ultimately ends up in control of the people that screwed him over right at the beginning, and so what does he do? He pulls the plug and screws them right back. We talk about this kind of stuff a lot in EVE, that this is a game based purely on consequences of your actions. That's a key part of EVE. If you are destroyed, it's because you did something wrong. You either jumped into an anomaly that was too high, you went out into nullsec into an area that you weren't secured for, or you took a risk. You sat there in a mining field AFK in low-sec, and then, oh my goodness, some guy has locked me down and blown me up. When you choose to go mining in low-sec, when you choose to join a PvP encounter, when you choose to engage an enemy ship, you are making a choice, and losing your ship is just one of the possible outcomes of that scenario. It is part of the consequences. And yes, you can use insurance to mitigate those consequences and reduce them a little bit, but you still have to deal with the consequence that you made a decision and ultimately your ship was destroyed. As much as we talk about ways that you can screw each other over in EVE, let's be fair. EVE is about working together to achieve something bigger than any one pilot can achieve on their own. That's why we have corporations. It's why we have alliances. There is no way that I as a pilot could ever hold up an entire empire on my own. I do that with all of our pilots in Catskull and in Void. I do that with all of our friends there, who will go to war against GenFed, we'll have a damn good time blowing each other up, we'll laugh about it, and we'll post some cool memes on Reddit. And when people post memes back at me, that's awesome. I love it when people poke fun at Void. I love it when people poke fun at Genesis. I love it when people poke fun at Golden Horde. At any alliance, it's cool. The propaganda is fun. But when people start to take it personally, or people start to make it personal, then we have a problem. If you're saying, oh lol, GenFed lost another station, that's fine. As soon as you say, lol, their pilots are insert racial, homophobic or transphobic slur, that's a different situation. Attacking a nameless, faceless entity is all part of the fun and games. Attacking people, get out of my community if that's how you want to behave. And that's why I will go through my comment section, and anyone who comes up with that kind of crap literally gets muted. You are never going to have your comments viewed on my channel again, and I love that tool. I love that tool so much. Anyway, folks, I've rambled a lot here about toxicity and about the concept of burnout and whether or not skill points are actually all that necessary. But what I wanted to do is also to give something back to the community today. So today's giveaway is going to be a double whammy, and it's going to be super easy to enter. Of course, we're going to have 2 individual months of Combo Omega, so if you want to be one of 2 people winning a month of Combo Omega, or if you want to win one of the holiday skins here, your choice of one of these skins. So if you want to go for the Dominic's Dawn skin, or if you want to go for the Megathron skin, or if you want to go for the Myrmidon Guardian skin, for example, I just want you to basically just say hi in the comments section. Tell me what excites you about Eve, what you are having fun with. I don't want to hear people go like, oh, it should be this, it should be... I want positivity. Tell me your favourite thing about this game, the thing that makes you happiest about Eve Echoes. Tell me that in the comments section. 2 of you will randomly win a month of Combo Omega, and 2 of you will win your choice of one of the Dawn skins. Actually, screw it. Let's up that one. 2 of you will win a month of Combo Omega, and we will make 3 winners for the Dawn skins. 3 Dawn skins, 2 Combo Omegas. Good luck, guys. Let me know in the comments section down below what excites you and makes you happiest in this game. If it's a positive thing, I will hit a love on it, and the winner will be announced at the weekend to receive those skins and the Combo Omega. Good luck, guys. Let's be a positive force of good in this community. Let's work together to make this game as absolutely as amazing as we know it can be. Let's work together to have fun and just be awesome. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.